Welcome to Creating Abundance with Alana Cahoon, sharing inspirational stories from experts around the world. Tap into your inner wisdom at alanacahoon.com. Welcome to Creating Abundance. I'm Alana Cahoon. Today's guest is Sanda Kruger, a life and health coach who empowers individuals to unlock their full potential. Her studies include philosophy, business, and the human mind. She believes that manifestation is enabled through connection to your higher self. This higher self or human mind has three parts: subconscious, conscious, and supraconscious, each having access to the power of choice and the divine consciousness. She is a sought-after expert in holistic health with over 40,000 students and clients from more than 175 countries. Sanda is from Romania, where she founded the Satori Romania Transformational Retreats. It is a pleasure to welcome you, Sanda.
Thank you so much, Alana. I definitely am extremely humbled and very happy to be here and talk to you about beautiful things.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's wonderful to have you here. So here's my first question. What brought you from Romania to the United States?
Well, that was exactly 20 years ago this year, actually. And I came here just the old-fashioned way, by falling in love and getting married. And that was that was back in 2003, 2004. And I have that stereotypical male bride story where my husband, being American, we've met online at that point. It was on Yahoo Games, which is very cute. And then he came to Europe. We spent a week together. He proposed, and then he came back and filed for the fiancé visa, and the rest is history. And we've been married for like 13 something years after that. But that was my first encounter in the US, and that's how I got here.
I love it. So it's a true romance. It's beautiful. And
Yes.
You've decided to stay. You like it?
Yes. Oh, yes, of course. We started a family, and at first it was that hardship because it's hard to change. It was a big cultural shock, but and then English was never my language. But yes, I love it here. It's beautiful. Now it's home, and as much as I have my roots in Romania, now I have my roots here as well.
Awesome. That's wonderful. Well, we're very fortunate to have you here, so welcome.
Thank you.
So what then inspired you to do the work that you do today, which is in the holistic health world?
Yeah. Well, my inspiration came a few years after I came to the United States. I became a mom, and I wanted to be close to my child all the time. It was that European mom, especially I'm Romanian, so we are Latin Europeans. It's the only Latin country in Eastern Europe. And our language, it's a romantic language. So we have a very strong connection, like most Latins do, to the family, to the roots, to the spoken words. And so I felt I've always had the drive towards music and towards expression in all sorts. But when I became a mom, I felt so close to being in touch with my body, to being in touch with my mind, and just offering love to my child to all different methods. So that was my first kind of encounter with the holistic approach, because I wanted to make sure that, I'm feeding the child the right things. I wanted to make sure that we have the movement and the energy flow that I thought it was a good thing back in the day. And I wanted to just do everything not really by the book, but by my own personal guidance, which sometimes was a little crazy as seen by others, but to me it was like, no, I'm going to cook her food, and I'm going to put it in a blender, and I'm going to, freeze it, and instead of buying things already made. So I had all these things that were going on. So yeah, that's how it kind of started.
So it was your child, it was your baby that influenced you to nurture. Was it a baby girl or a baby boy, your first child?
It's a baby girl and she's 19 now. So that was a long time
Oh,
ago.
how beautiful. And so
Mhm.
that, well, I love that story too. It's all very romantic, and we want the best for our loved ones. And so you nurtured your child, and I love that you cooked for her and blended and made the food fresh. So
Yes.
so then how does that move into your offerings as a health coach and a life coach?
So it's a very smooth transition. I've always been focused on just the well-being of the body. Since I was pregnant with my daughter, I've realized, and even my doctor was saying that, like, wow, you only gain 11 pounds. I only gained 11 pounds during my pregnancy, and it was a perfectly healthy, well pregnancy. My ankles didn't swollen. It was just all baby and water pretty much. And so it was that thing that kind of made my friends and the people around me keep asking questions like, how did you manage to do that? Many people gain 30 pounds or whatever it is. And I just said, I don't know. I didn't do it on purpose. I literally just follow my inner guidance and I ate what my body asked for. And I moved the way my body asks for. And so I have a very good relationship with my own body. And so people started asking, well, teach us how to do this. Teach us how to eat healthy. Teach us the Mediterranean diet, which was something that I was, focused on at that time. Teach us intermittent fasting, which I've learned that I'm doing. I was barely eating twice a day. It was mostly once a day on a regular basis, even when I was pregnant. So it kind of fell naturally just by being asked advices and questions to go through in that direction where I focused because I was a dancer back in my childhood years and like throughout my teenage years. I took movements from the dances that I've learned, and by taking my fitness certifications and later on my nutrition certifications, I came to these fitness programs, Bellycore Fitness, and even Aquacore later on. They were focused for women, especially, and they were focused on getting rid of extra tissue, extra weight from especially around the core area, the muscles, tightening the muscles in the back and in the abdomen. And so that was the purpose. It took me years to finalize the actual fitness program. But then naturally from there, it went into nutrition. Well, also focused on the core. So that was my first impact. And then later on, just by focusing on my own evolution, I've realized that nothing really changes in anybody's life. Like people will come to me and they will want to lose weight or they want to improve the look on their body their body or how they feel in their bodies. And but they will have such a mindset that will be so stuck, so rigid in different aspects of their diets, of their life. Like they will find all these limitations, but not be open to incorporate new habits. And so they want the results, but they will not change anything in the way they were perceiving and thinking about life and themselves. So I've realized that all the changes really happen when we first change our mindset, when we first focus on the inside, and the change starts from inside out. So that's how I got to be a life coach. But I started with fitness and nutrition.
I love it. I love it. So what I just heard is that you embraced what people were asking. People were asking, "How did you do it?" So in a way, how were you successful in your life that you didn't go for the cookies and the ice cream and all the things, the donuts that a lot of moms just say, "Hey, I'm pregnant. I get to do this right now. It's a free for all and I get a free pass for this because this is hard work." And what you so you actually you listen to that calling, and that's
Mhm.
something interesting. I love all the listeners to hear is that often our calling and our path is simply someone asking you, how did you do that? Teach me
Absolutely.
how. How did you do that? Show me how to do that. So I love that you stepped into that and said something that just came naturally for you as a trained dancer, and you've already comfortable in your body, etc. And that realizing, oh, not everybody else is, and this is a gift that you can share.
Yes. Thank you. Yes, that's exactly what happened. And also I've received the guidance myself to bring others closer to listening to their own system, being energy system, emotional system, physical system, because I really didn't force myself to not eat the cookies or not eat whatever was in front of me. It was just I followed my body. And because all my life I had such a good relationship with my body, I never overate. I always ate as much as I needed to be satisfied, but not like overly full. And so because of that, now I'm teaching, not really teaching as I'm unteaching. I'm helping them unlearn what their society in which they grew up, because I have clients from all over the world. But many times we are growing up eating certain things, or like, for example, eating 3 meals a day because that's how our families did it. But we're not hungry 3 times a day. Many times we just eat out of habit. We have all these values and habits that we are using every single day of our lives, but many times they do not serve us the best and they do not really represent us. So I'm teaching them how to identify what is really their essence and what's not their essence. I call them costumes and masks. What exactly from our costumes and masks that we have been taught to wear, or at least to have in our wardrobe all through the life, which ones of them do we want to eliminate or put in a corner and never use again, and which ones of them really serve us? Like a Halloween costume, like I want to dress up as Minnie Mouse, I'm going to do it on purpose. And that's pretty much with the analogy that I have. Like, yes, choose what you want to do. Choose to listen to your body. Your body will always talk to you if it's in balance with, and especially if we get to the heart mind coherence, then that's even more powerful.
That's wonderful. I was just teaching a similar lesson to my students in the Body Mind Connection course, and it is the mindset. It's all, it really begins with the thoughts, and we'll move into that in just a moment. But to wrap this idea up, just because you're raised in a culture that says you have to eat 3 meals a day at this time doesn't mean you actually have to. This might be a limiting behavior. And I understand the health and the reasons behind it. I know in this culture in the United States, it's based on, structure so that people can go to work, so that children can go and young adults can go to school, etc. And I do believe that that first meal of the day is very important. So if you're not a morning eater, even if it's uh, a bowl of fruit or an apple, a banana, a smoothie, something light to get your body nourished and going, that's great. But I right on board with you. I think that's awesome. So now let's talk about the mind. So we're a bit of the mindset here, but you, I introduced you as someone who has studied philosophy, business, and the human mind. So you said that there were three parts of that. Let's hear more about that.
Thank you. Yes. Well, so it's interesting that I started with philosophy, which is pretty much a theoretical knowledge about pretty much everything we can think of. And so my next phase in life, I wanted to focus on psychology, because I was so fascinated about the connection between our mind and ourselves and the soul. And then I came to the United States, and the practicality of life was literally guiding me in the way that I need to actually do something that is more grounded. So, hence, the business school. And all together, they came in handy. They were absolutely just very, very welcome in my life. But the mind, it's what connects everything, in my opinion. And so I was saying that the mind has three parts, but I want to mention that in order for this to make sense, we as human beings, right now, right here, we exist on three levels simultaneously at the same time. We exist at the physical level in these beautiful physical bodies. We exist at the mental level, the mind being this amazing, powerful tool that we have to use to create the magical human life. And then we exist at our essence level, as I like to call it, which is our spirit, our soul, as extension of the spirit. So taking the mind out of these three, it has three parts. The first part, and I'm going to take them from inside out or from up down. The first part, it's the supraconscious, which it's actually corresponding to the spirit part. So if we think about it and if we put them in parallel, we can see that the supraconscious mind, it's that part of the mind that corresponds to our soul, and we can access it through our intuition. That is the method through which we can listen to the messages, the inspired messages from the supraconscious. And then we have the conscious part of the mind, which is what psychologists are calling the rational, the reasoning, the logical mind, which studies are showing now that starts developing around 7 years of age in most humans. And it continues to develop until around late 20s, depending on each individual. And then we have the third part of mind, which is the subconscious, sub meaning under in my language and the Latin languages in general. And so it's the subconscious is the mind that it's underneath, like the base of all the other two. But when we are in alignment, the supraconscious and the subconscious can overlap and kind of become as one. What happens is that many people are not quite in alignment on regular basis, which means that I like to use this metaphor. The human mind, imagine it as a car, the most beautiful model, whatever model car you want. And the question here is, who's driving our car? Each and every one of us, our cars. Most of the time, what it's noticed these days, and that's why the world's energy is changing, is that the subconscious is the driver. It's in the driver's seat. While the soul, which represents our essence, is not even in the back seat, often is somewhere in the trunk, hidden in the corner. And then in the right-hand side, next to the driver, it's going to be always the conscious mind. The conscious mind, it's that cheerleader that is going to support whomever is driving our car. It's going to bring rational reasons. It's going to tell us, like, yes, if the subconscious is driving, for example, we're faced with a new decision, with a new career option, starting a new business, but we are fearful because we've never done that before. So the subconscious tries to keep us in the status quo, tries to keep us in what we know. And then the cheerleader, the conscious, is going to bring all the great reasons, like why you should not take that step, why you should stay where you are, because it's safer here, because it's more comfortable here. It's going to bring us the reasons for it. So in our car, the natural driver, it's supposed to be, for the well-being of each and every one of us, it's supposed to be our soul. Unfortunately, that's not the case. It's supposed to be that supraconscious soul corresponding. And if we follow intuitive guidance by allowing our soul to drive, then there is no way that we are not going to reach the abundant levels that we are meant to live in this lifetime. Because our intuitive guidance is always going to take us to where we need to be in this lifetime and have those experiences. But unfortunately, we put, those barriers because the subconscious is riding the show. It's running the show, and it's, the driver. So that's how I explain it. I hope that makes sense about the three parts of the mind.
Well, just to make it very clear, the car I would be choosing would be a Jaguar. It would be red with leather interior.
There you go, Alana.
And all three of me are going to be in the driver's seat. Yeah, that to
all
me is
together.
alignment, right? It's aligning your life, which could be considered if this is me interpreting what I just heard, your life
Yeah.
with the conscious mind or the ego, rational, with the soul, which is the divine guidance, the intuitive. The subconscious, though, that part I'm not sure about. What what part of the mind is the sub? So if I think of the ego and the spirit or the soul, I'm used to working with those two elements. But the
Well, you know how each of us have a different vision about the mind and the parts of the mind. I'm following the model that Freud has offered
okay,
us, right? And he's giving us that example of the iceberg, and then it's the iceberg that we see the tip of the iceberg coming out of the ocean, and the tip of the iceberg, it's like a triangle like this. It's the conscious mind. It's what's visible. It's what's rational. It does have um, influences on the ego and the personality as well, but not as much as the subconscious, which is the rest of that iceberg. That it's huge underneath the ocean that we don't really see. We have this portion that if we look down from the shore, we can see, a portion, and he calls that the unconscious, is like what the subconscious brings to our immediate awareness and brings it into the conscious. So that's the pattern that I'm following, but it's different. I'm changing it to the point where like the supraconscious exists, where in Freud's example, it doesn't. The supraconscious being that connection to the intuitive. So focusing on the subconscious, it is the part of our minds where there is a paradigm or more paradigms that are comprising of everything that we've ever been exposed to, indirectly, directly, intentionally or not, throughout our life, at least in this life. But now studies are showing more and more that actually there are memories in the subconscious that can be from previous lives as well.
oh, I
So
love
I've
it.
always imagined the subconscious as this huge warehouse where we have an unlimited number. There's no walls. We have this unlimited numbers of shelves that are full with folders with all our memories, everything that's ever happened to us. And then there are these base programs, I call them, which have been exposed to us repeatedly throughout childhood, especially in the first 7 years of life, and on which we, even as adults, are functioning. And that creates the entirety of our personality and comprises the ego underneath as well. And so to me, the subconscious is like the most comprehensible part of us that comprises the shadow, as well as Carl Jung is calling it, those parts of us that we tend to suppress, those emotions of us from us that we tend to hide, either because they are based on trauma and we don't want to face them because it's painful, or we're not even aware of them at a conscious mind. They're not brought into the conscious, or based on the society telling us that that's bad. You don't want to be there and have that trait, right? So subconscious comprises everything that we've ever learned, habits, values, beliefs, all of that. And not all of it, it's helpful for us, really.
Right, right. Thank you. Thank you for that description. All right. And to close, how does following your intuition increase your ability to manifest?
This is like feeding my heart and soul, because that's my favorite thing. Following your intuition, it's pretty much just following your soul's guidance. And each and every one of us is here to, I believe, to live an abundant, prosperous, fulfilled life. Unless we have some kind of a soul contract that tells us otherwise. But I believe that intuition is that voice that will lead us exactly where we need to be to have this fulfillment, to have this abundant life. And there are different ways in which we can get in touch with our intuitive voice. And that's exactly what I am teaching, and I'm not even teaching. I'm actually helping people get to their own intuition by unlearning, like I said. So this is how intuition can help. By following it, we can tap into the unlimitless that it's available to us. We can tap into the source energy, power outlet, however we want to call it, and we can see the impossible becoming possible. What our limited mind, based on conscious and subconscious programming, is telling us that it's not possible, not for you in this lifetime. The intuition, it gives you permission. Yes, let me show you what's the next best step. If you listen to me, I am going to guide you and you're going to get there.
Awesome. Wonderful. Listen to your intuitive guidance. Thank you very much, Sanda. Sanda is giving all of our listeners a free gift, so please check the show notes and click on the link. And if you'd like to share what that is, you can go ahead and do that right now.
Yes, so I do have a couple of things. Remind me, what did I mention that it was the free gift? Because I have a few in my head right now, so I just want to make sure that I'm not saying the one that's not according to our.
All right. Well, with that, listeners, check our show notes, and you will have a surprise gift from one of the most lovely health and life coaches here, Sanda. Thank you so much, and thank you everyone for listening. Here is to your continued prosperity in health, wealth, and happiness. Namaste. Thank you for listening to Creating Abundance. Be sure to like and subscribe. Stay tuned for the next podcast and get your free ebook at alanacahoon.com/ebook.